I'm William Willard and this is GT Rally Report. Yes, who didn't watch the rally reports either on Top Gear or Top Gear Rally Report with that funky music? So let me be your Tony Mason, guide you through Toyota Celica GT Challenge by Gremlin, a 1990 game. Starting off on the Atari ST, and you're going to see a lot of commercial placement in this game. The first of which is Toyota, who were doing a lot of good stuff in rallying at the time. For this, the Audi Quattro dominated, and also the Lancias as well. So there's good configuration options there, and you can select, in rallying you have a co-driver, because rallying isn't racing, it's going down a road between 2 points and trying to get the best time. And you have a co-driver who will shout out what your next move is. So in the game you can of course either leave the computer to do it for you, or you can go down the map and insert extra instructions which the computer will bark out at you, or on the 8-bit versions will show you just icons on the screen. Secure Express, those were the days. Start your engine, and we're on automatic gearbox here. Off we go, and we can see it's a mix of 3D and sprites on the ST. Not much of an impression of speed, which is deceptive. As soon as you come to the first corner, you will probably fly off.
Easy right.
Sampled audio, even here on the ST, so sampled motor noises and screeches as you go around the corners. And you won't see any other cars, as I say, because rallying is going between 2 fixed points and trying to get the best time, one car after the other. And incidentally, the game supports up to 4 players, so you go one after the other. Over to the Amiga. Now I'm running this on an accelerated Amiga 1200. There will be complaints because people will say,
you need to run this on the Amiga 500 so it compares exactly with the Atari ST. And then they'll say the Atari ST is exactly faster because I really like the Atari.
Yeah, I don't care. This Amiga 1200 is running at 28 megahertz, and there's a good reason why I'm showing this on accelerated Amiga. Because the thing is, on the ST version, on the 7 megahertz machines, it's quite hard to steer with the refresh rate as it is, but we will see something happening when we start here on the Amiga. Of course, it's much faster and smoother. Actually, not that much faster, but definitely smoother. And the car is so much easier to handle. It's a vast improvement. You know how you got better times on Formula 1 Grand Prix with faster machines? Well, it's just like that. You can judge the corners far better. You can respond, because you're on a digital joystick and you can use a mouse, you can just respond that much quicker, and I find it so much easier.
Right.
He says, still going off the road. I'm not sure there's any colours added over the ST version here. Graphics on this game are apparently by Bernie Drummond, who was the graphics artist on Head Over Heels.
Right.
Sinclair Spectrum version, there's no C64 version by the way, there was one planned, but I think we can guess why it didn't come out. See, graphics by Bernie. And the 8-bit versions are 1991. 16-bit versions have all digitalised graphics, and the 8-bit versions do as well. It says you can practice a stage, but the reality is it lets you do one random level from each of the stages. There's 10 stages on the England stage that we're running through at the moment. And you get a gear stick animation here on the Spectrum. Again, I'm using automatic. Whoa! Automatic gearbox. It's a lot harder. You know how I said the ST version's harder than the Amiga version there because of the slower machine? Well, it's even harder on the Spectrum. Frame rate seems pretty good, but the physics are somewhat odd. On the 16-bit versions, you get the feeling when you go around the corner that you're actually getting oversteer, which is what you want. Really you want that kind of realistic feeling, don't you? But when you come off the road in the Spectrum, it goes really weird. It's like you can't steer back onto the road. The road stays permanently far away from you. It's something really weird going on. Amstrad CPC. Blues used a good effect on the Toyota logo there. As I recall, Amstrad actually quite liked this game. Reviews were mixed overall, especially on the Amiga. Some of the magazines loved it and some of the magazines hated it. At this stage, I should mention there's an MS-DOS version. I loaded it onto floppy, I put it into the computer and it hung, either running it from floppy disk or installing it. And here we see the co-driver's notes screen on the Amstrad. And if you want the best times, I suggest you go through the co-driver's notes on each track and set it up. Start your engine. If you've got manual gearbox, by the way, it's possible to jump the start and get a massive penalty, so don't do that. Times are cumulative, by the way, so they go between stages. So you've got to do 10 stages on the first section on the England levels, and you've got to qualify 20th or better to go through to the desert level. Frame rate's reduced on the Amstrad. You've got more colour though. It's equally, well, it's the Spectrum version, isn't it, really? It's, as all these things are. It's got the same handling problems. Back onto the ST, and the vacuum cleaner powering your car. Sorry, sample speech of the Toyota. Oh, I've crashed. It's all gone a bit Mark Bolan. And you get a 20-second penalty and a smashed windscreen, although frankly I've never seen Auto Glass replace a cracked windscreen in 20 seconds. And we've finished stage 1 with an appalling time on the ST. More secure core product placement on the dashboard. The flashing is the crack, by the way, of the version of this I'm using. I come 30th, I'm Fungus the Bogeyman. This is one of the night stages on the ST. Now you need to engage your windscreen wipers, which at first I didn't realise, in order to keep the windscreen clear. I say night level, it could be a day level where it's raining and it's just very grey. It's hard to tell. You don't have any headlights because it's an ST. There's only 16 colours. And what do you want? Blood! And the road becomes more slippery, so the handling changes. And as you progress through the stage, through the 10 levels of the stage, or 10 stages of the stage, the tracks get twistier and harder.
Right.
And a board man says right or left in your ear. Windscreen wipers don't seem to slow down the frame rate, thank goodness. You do need to get the back out when you go around the corners to get the best times, which is much easier here on the Amiga. We've got a much better frame rate on this 28 MHz Amiga 1200.
Left.
Round the corner we go. Oh, yes, there we go. Finish line. Having quite a lot of fun on the Amiga version, actually. Once you get the handling sussed. Thing is, the speed doesn't really relate to real life. It still feels like you're going far slower than the car actually would be. I'm going to Mexico, the desert levels. Hooray, I easily qualified first. No cheating. Just first go on the Amiga version. But as I say, that extra speed on the machine makes it far easier. For contrast, on the ST version, I didn't actually qualify. Make of that what you will. So this is the desert level, and you have giant cactuses and... well, I'm assuming there's stones, stand upright, then, yeah. Shame we didn't put more colours into this Amiga version. It's a straight ST port. And this is the desert level on the Spectrum, which is, of course, yellow. And the handling changes because obviously you're on sand. So you got to get used to that. What I'm learning about this game is the lower the frame rate, the harder it is. That's never more obvious than on the weird physics of the Spectrum version. Stay on the road, it would crashed. When you get off the road, you can't steer back on. And you might say that's the sand and forward momentum, but it's just, you turn full lock and you just can't get, it's like you can't, the road stays continuously far away from you, whereas you'd expect to get some forward motion in the way you're heading. There's something really wrong with the physics of this Spectrum and CPC versions in a way that hard driving by Domark simply doesn't have. Yes, those games have slow frame rates on these machines, but you're never in doubt that the physics, no matter what way you're facing, is not cheating you. It always handles the same way. So splashable colour on the CPC. It's in mode 1, 4-colour mode. Big Toyota logo backwards on the windshield there. In the same way those Radio 1, 275 and 285 stickers you used to get for your car were. You don't see those anymore, do you? The kind of sun visor things. And there's sand now. We're here on the ST, and your windscreen wipers don't impact the sand. On the Amiga, the sand now makes it look like a weak BBC Two signal. One for the teenagers. And you just got to get that handling right. Oh, I've crashed again. Call auto glass. The final rally stage is the finish stage. Mika Häkkinen and all that stuff in Finland with snow. You need the windscreen wipers, and we're on the ST. Again, handling changes and the circuits are extra twisty. This game starts off deceptively easy. I say, well, depending on the frame rate you've got, and it really ramps it up. Of course, this game is by Gremlin, who had a lot of thumbs in driving game pies at the time. But if you delineate these games, well, Supercars is the top-down arcade racer, Lotus is the Outrun rip-off racer, and Celica GT Rally is the simulator racer. On the Amiga, and processor speed helps so much here.
Hard left.
Complaints are that the co-driver gives you instructions too late from some of the reviewers. I don't find that the case at all, perhaps in a few cases, but the idea is you're supposed to tweak the co-driver. So it's not intended to be perfect. This is the finished level on the Amstrad. And it's the same as the other levels, but white. If there is a handling difference on the Mexico and finished levels on the Spectrum and Amstrad versions, I'm not sure I really detect it. You don't get the rain, snow or dust storms on the 8-bit versions either. So Toyota Celica GT Rally by Gremlin. Some people, I think, mistook this as an arcade game when it came out and gave it scores accordingly. It's not. It's a simulator masquerading as an arcade game. And therefore, once you get over that, you'll have a much better time with it. The elephant in the room, in terms of driving games, is Formula 1 Grand Prix, which was knocking around at the same time, which is a whole different level to this. You can't spin 360 degrees in this. The physics are somewhat limited. I enjoyed it on the Amiga, but it felt like a limited game compared to other games in the genre that I've played, although they weren't rally games. The ST version will be as good as the Amiga version if you have a faster processor, and I've got to say that because people get very het up about these things. Spectrum and CPC versions, I'm afraid, okay, they are the only game in town, but I'm not getting that same sense of fun I got from hard driving on the Spectrum and Amstrad. With the limited frame rates, I could go around that speed course and a stunt course as well all day long. And of course it comes out at a time when Gremlin are producing lots of racing games, but I'm afraid, depending on the speed of your 16-bit machines, it's only an average to okay game.